Phil Elson in Gainesville, Florida. Maddie and Drew are in Fort Smith, and our friend Aaron Torres is out in Los Angeles. Coast to coast, man. Yeah, and maybe we've got it better with the weather than the guys in the middle of the country right now.
I'm sure you do.
T, how are you?
I'm great. I can't even imagine booking two better college baseball guests in one show than me and Kendall Rogers, who I know is coming up. Two, am I allowed to complain about the weather? Like, I don't know what's going on in Arkansas right now. It's going to be like 100 degrees where I live today. Like, I'm not Mr. Complain about the weather guy, and I'm sure it's better than a lot of places. I wasn't ready for 100-plus in the middle of April, but,
But it's
I
a
guess
dry
I can't
heat,
really
though, right? It's a dry heat out there. You don't have to deal with humidity.
That's true. But, I'd rather it be a dry 74 in April, and, I'll deal with 100-plus. I deal with 100-plus every day from, like, June 1st till, like, the middle of September. I was just hoping I could enjoy April. But listen, you know what? What do they say? First world problems. If that's the worst thing that happens to me today is I get a little, whatever. I guess everything could be worse. So I'm talking to you guys. We're having a great Friday. Hogs play today in Florida. What more could I ask for, honestly?
I would also say like 100 degrees and dry heat is kind of what I picture hell being like. So I don't know if it's dry or wet.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's right. Whatever. But we got the AC pumping in the house already. All that stuff. Anyway.
Good. Well, it's been less than 2 weeks since Arkansas basketball ended the season, AT, and Eric Musselman and his staff have totally completely remade this team with the addition of Jaylin Graham, though they haven't released it from the university yet. Graham released it himself, that he's going to be joining Arkansas with 2 years of eligibility. So now a team that had really one player that was any taller than 6'9" that got any minutes over the last couple of months of the season is now going to try to find ways to get Trayvon Brazile, the Mitchell twins, and Jaylin Graham, all guys who played important roles on the teams they were with last year, and to fit roles for the next version of Arkansas. It's amazing to see how this team's been remade so quickly.
Well, and I think you missed, maybe the most important name there, Phil, is Jaylin Williams. My understanding, and I know you guys have talked about it a lot, I don't believe that because of this front court run that Arkansas has had in the transfer portal, that definitively means that Jaylin Williams is going to be gone. I think he really is testing his options. And I really think, the intention, I believe, my understanding is, and maybe it's changed over the last day or two, because of all the news, is that he's expected back, and he probably wants to come back. So I don't think you can factor that in. You can't not factor that in as well. What I would say is, on paper it looks like a logjam, but I'll tell you, man, the one thing, and we've talked about it, I've been so impressed with Coach Muss and his ability to see, have a vision of what his roster is going to look like before the rest of us can. I don't know how much we talked about it, but I didn't get the transfer portal stuff last year. I didn't really see how Chris Likes fit in the backcourt with Devo Davis, how Audis Tony and Stanley Amude and Trey Wade all felt like kind of the same player to me. Well, Audis Tony and Stanley Amude and Trey Wade were all starters on what ended up being an Elite Eight team. So, that's the one thing that I've learned through the years is Coach Muss has a vision of what he wants his team to look like and how all the pieces fit together. Even if you and I or you and Drew or me and Drew don't see it today on April 8th or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that Coach Muss doesn't have a vision. It doesn't mean that vision isn't going to come to fruition when the team actually takes the court in November, December, January.
And that is true, right? I don't know how it all works when you basically recruit four of the same guys, and then, like you said, possibly Jaylin Williams coming back. But Musselman obviously has been a coach for a very long time. He knows what he's doing a lot better than us talking heads. But with the talent that's coming in, obviously the 6 4-star and above freshmen, the 4 transfers, if you have Jaylin Williams back, we talk about it a lot with teams that have this kind of problem of too much talent, that there's only one ball, there's only so many minutes. And when you talk about an Eric Musselman team, especially down the stretch, it's a very short rotation. Do you think having all of this talent on the bench will make him or force him to open up to possibly a 9-man rotation instead of sitting at the 6-7 mark? Or is he just going to continue what he's doing with 7 and the best 7 play?
I think it's the latter, Drew. I mean, I do, and I think we've had this conversation. We may have had the same conversation at this time last year. Is you look at the depth and you look at the pieces, but all this really does, in my opinion, and it isn't just an Arkansas thing. I mean, right now, the gift and the curse, the good and the bad. Kentucky lost a player to the portal yesterday that I think the fan base wanted to keep. Now, I think the fan base is overreacting a little bit, but I just bring it up to say, their argument is, you got to play that guy. UConn, just my alma mater, lost a four-star point guard that was believed to be the future of the position in the program, and it was because Dan Hurley really only played 7 guys, and Dan Hurley said during the season, look, I'm not going to play guys just because – he didn't say it like this, but I'm kind of paraphrasing. He said, I'm playing the guys that are earning of the minutes in practice, and the exact quote was something to the effect of, if I just played guys off recruiting rankings or whatever, there'd be a mutiny in my locker room. And so it's not just an Arkansas thing, but to answer your question, Drew, I don't think it's going to change. All I think it's going to do is heighten things in practice. And this is something I know even before you were with us, Drew and I talked about for years is, the toughest circumstances that those players might have to be in is in practice. I mean, that's been John Calipari's recruiting pitch for years. Practice is going to be tougher than games are. Miami football, when they were at their best, I knew some guys that played there kind of in that Ed Reed, Vince Wilfork, you can go on down the list. Practice was tougher than the games. I know football is a different sport. You can get more guys in the rotation on the field, all that stuff. But I just bring it up to say, I think all it really does is heighten things in practice. And so who those 7 guys will be, 8 guys will be come March 2023, I don't know. But, no, I don't think that this program is going to be fundamentally altered because there appears to be so much talent on the roster in March of 2022. This is who we are. And, by the way, I would add, I'm sure this was part of the recruiting pitch, too. It's competitive. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked before. But we have a 2-year track record here and a 5, 6, 7-year track record of being a college basketball staff that you're going to win, but you're going to have to come in, earn your spot, and you're going to have to come in, and the best players are going to play.
Yeah, I'm sure Muss didn't try to sell them fool's gold and say that they were going to get starters minutes and that they weren't going to have to worry about coming off the bench and they were going to be starters from November to March. I'm sure he's very honest with them. But other guys that aren't coming back, and let's just say Jaylin Williams is one of those. Who from Arkansas's team last year do you think has the best prospect of being a long-term NBA guy? I mean, does J.D. Note, Adis Toney have a chance? Is it one of the transfers to Trey Wade, Mude, or Chris Likes? Who would you put your money on to have the best NBA career?
Yeah, without having really done too much work on NBA draft stuff, the obvious one feels like J.D. Note. I mean, if you can get 19 a game in the SEC, you can get buckets. I remember, Drew, again, going back to before you were here, me and Phil and the previous co-host talking about Mason Jones in the same way, and Mason Jones has kind of bounced back and forth between the NBA and the G League, and he hasn't found his spot yet. But I remember saying about Mason Jones, if you can get 23 in the SEC every night, they can find a spot for you in the NBA. I think it's going to be the same with J.D. Note. Again, I really kind of passively look at NBA draft boards. I don't claim to get into the weeds on, this guy versus that guy or all that stuff. But, like I said, I mean, J.D. Note, there's not very many players in college basketball that improved their personal stock, their draft stock, how they're viewed. I really enjoyed watching him play. I'm actually sad. I'm going to miss him. I understand why you went pro. It's time to start your professional career, especially with all the freshmen coming in. But, I think he's another one, along with Moses Moody, along with all these other guys. I think he's going to make Arkansas fans proud over these next, few years, representing the university and the school well in the NBA.
All right, AT, I know you put this on your podcast, so anybody that wants, the full story on it should download the latest Aaron Torres podcast. You know where I'm going to hit with here. What happened with J.J. Redick? Because he called you out, I think, about something involved in the NBA, but he got a little personal, didn't he?
Whoa.
Ooh, yeah. No, he used some language we can't use, the kind of language I use when I kick over a plant in the middle of a radio segment. It's like, it got really bad. It's so funny. So long story short, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. I sent out a tweet during the Houston-Villanova Elite Eight game that got completely misconstrued by NBA media They didn't understand the point that I was trying to make, which is fine. Social media, that's whatever. And, they came at me for 4 or 5 days. JJ Redick called me an idiot, whatever, no big deal. I called them some names too. And then it somehow came back up on his podcast this week. And it was like out of nowhere. I was just like, doing things on a normal Wednesday like I normally would. And people were like, did you see what J.J. Redick said about you? And I'm like, no, I didn't. So why is he still talking? Listen, what can I say? I stir the pot. I guess I'm a talking point. I guess people use my name for ratings. I don't know. I'm making that part up, but it'd be pretty funny. But, no, I mean, I said something that he disagreed with. The funny part is he didn't understand my point, and he misread the original tweet. So, I would encourage you to go listen to the Aaron Torres podcast today. I give you kind of the full story. But, yeah, man, I was saying something about college basketball. I think he thought I was being the guy that sits there and says, college basketball is a better sport than the NBA, and the product is better, and the players try so hard. That's not what I was saying at all. I would think, by the way, that a Duke guy would have a little bit better reading comprehension, but I guess not. What can I say,
Well, I just caught a little bit of it. So, yeah, and again, I need to go onto your podcast to get the full story here. It's the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast.
It's a little vulgar, Phil. Just don't be playing it in the press box with the mic on, okay?
That's okay. That's perfectly okay. My virgin ears can handle it. AT, we'll let you go there. Thanks for your time, man. Always appreciate you.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs, sports info, and odds. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's odds for the Masters Championship and the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on popular sports and games. BetOnline, where the game starts.